Well, yeah, this webinar will be recorded. So yeah, and then also feel free to type in any questions so we can go over them at the end of the presentation. Okay, so hello, my name is Kuyuki and I am a peer consultant at SARC. And I would like to present to you a presentation about how to successfully fail. So if I can share my screen. All right, can you all see the presentation? If I can get a thumbs up from Carissa. Okay, cool. All right. So throughout our lifetime, failure is inevitable, right? Sometimes we fall into holes where we want to get out of this state of mind that is telling you that you are a failure. But failures are hidden keys to success, but only when you think that it's a success. From this webinar, I hope you can learn how to process failures and ultimately continue to fail forward. Before we get into the information, what are some emotions and thoughts you have when you face failure? So if you can go to this link, polleverywhere.com/Kuikinakayama343 or text Kuikinakayama343 to 22333 and text in your answer there. But I already activated the poll everywhere and I'll put the link in the chat too. If I can stop sharing and then. All right, yeah. Is it working?
You'll want to put to everyone instead of hosts and panelists.
Oh, okay, to everyone. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so pull everywhere. Okay, can everyone see the link now? Yes?
Yep.
Okay. Maybe I'll give like, oh, okay. I'm gonna share my screen to show some results. All right, we got cycle, hope, regret, and curiosity. Wow, I love this optimistic group. We love it. Well, except for the regret part, but hope and curiosity, that's a really good start. But yeah, of course, having regrets is it seems like it's a permanent feeling, and because time is not malleable. So yeah, there's a strong feeling of regret there. But yeah, thank you for sharing. All right, we will move on to the presentation. All right. All right, so let's think about how does your mind react to failure. So you hear this phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? That's another song reference. But certain research suggests it does the opposite. It makes you weaker. So in one study led by MIT neuroscientist Earl Miller, monkeys who made a mistake in a trial, even after mastering the task, later performed worse than monkeys who made no mistakes. And other studies concluded that failure can impede concentration and our brain goes into abandon the shit mode. And on the other hand, the brain's release in testosterone and dopamine from winning something makes the mind smarter, better trained, and confident, also known as the winner effect. So the brain is susceptible to failure. I think we all know that, right? But the only way to stop failing is to stop trying. So what should we do to prevent our minds from sabotaging our skills and potential and make peace with our failures to make us stronger and transforming failure to success? All right, so 4 ways to successfully fail. All right, so let's go to the first step. So failures, don't personalize failures. Failures don't define you or others. We tend to either blame ourselves or others and immediately associate our failures to our identity, which is ultimately not true because according to Hannah Montana, nobody's perfect. And she is right. And just because you haven't found a successful way of doing something yet doesn't mean you are a failure. The first thing to do is to dissociate failures from yourself. I'll further talk about how to dissociate failures in the third step. Yeah. So the second way is to reframe your failures. Allow yourself to, of course, process the feelings of successes and failures, but don't dwell on it long term. So we need to associate your failure with something less weighty, with, a bit of humor, or restate and reinterpret your failures. Having a flexible mindset is healthy. Thoughts are just thoughts, not facts. It depends on the amount of attention you give that thought. So this is an example how you can reframe your failure, right? So what if you're thinking, if I fail or if I did fail, it means that I'm stupid, I'm weak, I'm incapable, and destined to fall short. So this is a statement that seems like it's permanent, right? I am stupid, I am weak, incapable. But you can reframe this statement by saying, if I fail, I am one step closer to succeeding. So that's a more of a flexible mindset than the previous statement, right? All right, so the third way is to set realistic and specific goals. By setting realistic and specific goals, or just defining where and when of a task will increase your motivation and move past your failure. So during this process, don't think, do this right, or you'll end up like last time. Or what psychologists call this avoidance motivation. So instead, set positive goals and celebrate small progress. Our brain accelerates as we perceive success is coming closer, also known as the goal looms larger effect, which could be seen in marathon runners when they're close to crossing the finish line. So last but not least, perceive failures as momentary, temporary. So simply put, you can't change the past, but as time moves on, the failure also moves on. And by acknowledging this fact that failures are momentary, it will be easy to move past them and see them as a tool than a weapon. So, all right, I guess I'll like to share my own experience with failure and how I process this failure. So my ultimate failure was procrastination, you know it. Every time I procrastinate on my essays, I'll criticize myself by saying that this is how I am and going to be, never satisfied with results because I have never put anything 100% on my effort in life. So therefore I am incompetent and that is me. That's who I am. And I realized this mentality had to go. And because my relationship with school and my self-esteem became toxic, I had to reframe my failures somehow, but it was really difficult for me because I kept repeating this habit of procrastination. But what helped me was to actually disassociate myself from failure and made a positive goal. So if I work on, this essay my goal is to have a deeper understanding and curiosity with the concepts that I am interacting. So whether it was like typing up a page for today or finishing a midterm essay before it was due, which is like a big accomplishment for me. I celebrated the achievements, whether it was big or small. So, and the thing is, the weird thing is I still procrastinate. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be real. I still procrastinate, especially like this quarter because like I had to like adjust from like remote to like in person. But I know that my past self has improved and I am still improving. And the weird thing is I'm giving myself more grace and forgiveness whenever I procrastinate, even though that wasn't my objective to do so in the first place. So if comfortable, does anybody would like to share their moments of failure and how they overcame it? It doesn't necessarily have to follow these steps, but do you have any recommendations of new steps to overcome these failures? And feel free to type it in your favorite fails in the chat right now. So yeah. Oops. Okay. I can't, how do you, oh, I can see the chat. Okay, perfect. But yeah, but if you are comfortable, so I don't want to force you. Failing on an interview. Carissa, may I ask like how you failed on an interview? I know I don't want to bring up traumatic past, but.
Sure. Well, it was an interview where I guess I was a little too early and everybody was kind of still setting up the room for the interview. And it was just this really awkward, like, please go outside until we're done setting up here. And then finally, when I was ready, or when they were ready for me to come in, I was like, oh, I'll shake everyone's hand. And everybody shook my hand except this one person. So then that was really awkward. So it just felt like, okay, obviously I'm not connecting with folks. So fail.
Oh, at least that's in the past now. How did you overcome that just awkwardness or trauma that you had?
Yeah, just, realizing that maybe it just wasn't the right fit or wasn't my time, or, I think everything kind of happens for a reason and it just wasn't meant to be. So, but kept moving on and continued to apply and continued to interview. And I think the practice definitely helped improve.
That's right. That's right. And Patrick said, making sure I keep on going. Sometimes results don't go the way I expect, but just try to do something a little differently. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's like specific, planning like specific measurable goals. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, just relating to Carissa's interview. So, all right. So let's move on. So how can we apply these 4 elements to real life, especially in an interview setting? All right. So if you have been in interviews before, there's a common yet rather tricky question. So tell me about a time you failed. All right. So at least my immediate thoughts when I think of this question goes, how can I share my failures with my future employer when I want them to hire me? And then I immediately think, oh, okay, I can show that I am a perfectionist, or I can't say no, or like I haven't experienced any. And all of those statements are not true at all. I am not a perfectionist, but let's learn these 4 steps in order to answer this question with appropriate and truthful answers, right? That makes you an impressive candidate. So number 1, define what the failure is. So by doing this, you take control of the question. An example includes, I overpromised on a project and showed up with underachieving results. By stating what the failure means to you, you are setting yourself up for success in this question. All right. And then number 2, focus on one thing that went wrong. So people, when they're answering this question, they usually explain how everything went wrong, and you don't have to do that. You want to share an experience that shows a one-time mistake or error, and hence an experience that you learned from, which connects to our third point, end with a learning lesson. So, and you can use the Carl method, which means content, action, result, and learning. So it's similar to the STAR method, if you guys heard of it before, but the STAR method is situation, task, action, result. But this Carl method will allow you to express more of what you learned rather than just the context and the result. And this is where you focus on the accomplishments of your personal progress. So also, if you want to go above and beyond, point to a specific situation where you apply that learning. So expressing to the employer that you are an individual who can and wants to grow. Because the employer knows that everyone goes through failure, but they just want to know how. So also note, you have to show that you are accountable and you took the responsibility during your failures. So, and obviously choose your failure wisely. You don't want a big mistake, a big failure to overshadow like how you overcame it. So I will like to say an example. So an interviewer can be like, so tell me about a time when you failed. And then I go, sure. For me, I define failure as having miscommunication with people, especially on a team project. So the context. In this particular instance, I was the marketing and programs manager at company X, and I had an intern for the first time. However, as a manager and a part-time student, I was bombarded with tasks for a sponsored event in July and completely forgot to communicate with my intern about our guidelines and themes for social media. The intern told me that she was confused about the task and the internship was even more difficult because of remote setting. This caused a delay in our project. For action, I immediately realized that I need to take responsibility and take priority in assisting the intern. Internships are ways for people to experience and grow in a work setting, and I was not contributing to the intern's learning experience at all. I apologized, and before I gave her the task, I gave her the information that was needed to execute the task. And we also gave her a vision of what we want our social media to look like. And the result? As a result, not only our projects and tasks were on time, but our social media platform grew by 5% and during the course of the internship because there is more creativity produced from collaboration. And learning. I have since learned from this mistake and learned to prioritize communication in order to enhance coordination and therefore promote the efficiency and creativity of our organization, especially in my campus club as a board member, where I have to coordinate with the advertising committee about our events, and they need the content of the event, perhaps a headshot and the bio of the speaker. So yeah, that was an example. And I hope these 4 elements and 4 steps and to answer the question of failure helped you. And thank you for attending the webinar and wishing you for more failures ahead. If there are any questions, feel free to type in the chat. All right, so I already see some questions here. So I am going to stop sharing. So one question goes, when I try to distance myself from failure, I am likely to get worried about if I am just finding an excuse for myself, right? I am concerned about this. I wonder, what should I do? Well, that mentality is already damaging your process of how to interact with the failure as success, right? Because I'm going to get, yeah, so you just have to see failure as a key to success, not failure just as a failure. So yeah, I think it's I personally go to therapy, and I know many other of my friends, they go to therapy as well. The hardest, you learn a lot about psychology and how to apply concepts to, to promote cognitive behavior therapy within your own mentality. But the hardest part is to actually apply them. But that takes a lot of practice. So changing that mentality in the first place takes a lot of effort. But all this, you have to remember that this is a long-term project. It's a long-term process to accept failure as a success, then failure as a failure, and being stuck in that hole. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question. Yeah. If there aren't any more questions for now, there were actually questions before that people submitted before the webinar. So number one, how to develop a mindset of failure as a step to another victory. Well, I hope the 4 steps about, not personalizing your failures, that it doesn't define you, also reframing and seeing failures as, temporary, and setting specific and realistic goals helps you. But again, it's a long-term process, and especially when we're in a school setting, the academic pressure definitely hinders from achieving that kind of mindset. But yeah, just constantly, it depends on the person, but people can write down their thoughts. And then what I do is sometimes when I'm having these negative thoughts, this is also from my therapist, but she's like, whenever you're having these negative thoughts, say it out loud. And when you're saying them out loud, it's like, oh, I am so incompetent. You're like, when you're actually saying them out loud, you're like, wait a minute, what am I saying? When you're actually verbally expressing what you're saying to yourself, you're like, whoa, what am I doing? And you take a step back and you're like, okay, let me restate my thought, because our mind is actually pretty flexible. So yeah. So the second one is, any suggestions for finding job opportunities or internships when you're still unsure of what career path to choose in life? That's a great question, because that is what I'm struggling right now too. And I am 4th year, so graduating in June. But I'm losing my voice here, I'm sorry. I'll start with like, it depends if you're, it could, anything that inspires you, or like sparks interest in you. It sounds cheesy, but look into it, because it could be from your classes. It could be from YouTube. I love YouTube. I watch YouTube all the time. But yeah, that's where like I like watch TED Talks and stuff. But anything that triggers an interest, I'll explore that as a career. But it's hard when you think about like past failures in your life and you're like, can I actually do this? Can I actually go into this career path? But I think you have to develop and build a foundation first. Build a relationship with the interest first. And that way, I think it will cultivate a more positive relationship with like a career. But yeah, just curiosity. Having an interest, having curiosity. I think that's more fun than thinking logically about a career. Well, you kind of have to, but yeah, I think that's a way to start. All right, and the third one, do you have any tips for dealing with the sense of defeat after a bad exam, interview, or quarter? Oh my God, this hits hard. Again, this takes practice. The bad exam part. I usually think, okay, I can't reverse a bad exam. I can't reverse a bad interview. or a bad quarter. I cannot go back. And what do I do with this feeling of defeat? You just have to, I personally think just there's always a next exam, there's always a next interview, there's always a next quarter. So just, I think failure, thinking about failures and thinking about defeat sucks you back into the past, and it holds you from moving on. That's 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 the ammunition, that's the weapon that failures have. But you have to, this also this is what you learn in cognitive behavior therapy, but mindfulness, that's really important. You have to be mindful that, okay, I am going through this mindset right now of, I'm going through a mindset. My mind is telling me that I am a failure. I am defeated from this exam, from this interview, from this quarter. I am recognizing, I am being aware of my own thoughts and feelings right now. And since my mind is more flexible than I think, and I can be in control of my thoughts. You bring back the autonomy that failure has taken away from you, because you still have the autonomy. It's just, you still have the control. You're just overwhelmed with other negative thoughts in your mind. So just think that there's always a next opportunity. So yeah, I hope my answers have helped you in some way. It is 11:29, and the webinar is 30 minutes. But so since I work at SARC, and you, if you want to know more about grad school research or internship career, or just any topics surrounding this subject, just visit our website, or just keep a heads up on any updates. We will have more events relating to this topic. Especially, I'm really passionate about mental health, like imposter syndrome, and I do want to talk about in future events too. So keep a heads up, and yeah, visit our SARC website if you want to schedule a consultation with me or any other peer consultants at our organization. And thank you for attending this webinar. Yeah. Oh, thank you. All right. Bye.